When the sun goes down over the Appalachian Mountains, the ridgelines that looked so peaceful in daylight turn into something else entirely. This mountain chain stretches for nearly 2,000 miles, from Georgia and Alabama all the way up into Maine and Canada, covering some of the oldest, densest, and most biologically rich forest in North America. And once darkness settles over those hollows and hardwood ridges, a very different cast of animals takes over. Some of them are ambush predators built to move silently through leaf litter. Some carry venom potent enough to put a grown adult in intensive care, and at least one of them is so small you would never see it coming. Yet it sends more people to the hospital every single year than almost anything else on this list combined. In this video, we're counting down the 11 most dangerous animals that roam the Appalachian wilderness after dark, based on real documented encounters, real attack statistics, and real behavior recorded by wildlife biologists. Stick around, because the number one spot is not the animal most people expect, and once you hear why, you'll never look at an Appalachian evening walk the same way again. Before we get into the list, if you're enjoying this kind of content, take a second to hit that subscribe button. It genuinely helps this channel keep making videos like this one. And I'd love to know, drop a comment and tell me what part of the world you're watching from tonight. All right, let's get into it. Starting off at number 11, we have the timber rattlesnake. This is one of the largest venomous snakes in the eastern United States, with adults commonly reaching 3 to 5 feet in length and weighing several pounds. Timber rattlesnakes are found throughout the Appalachian Range, from northern Georgia up through the ridges of Pennsylvania and New York, and they are almost entirely nocturnal or crepuscular during the hot summer months, meaning they do most of their hunting at dusk and after dark, when small mammals like mice and chipmunks are most active. Their venom is a potent mix of hemotoxins that damage tissue and blood cells, and a bite from an adult timber rattlesnake is considered a serious medical emergency requiring antivenom treatment. What makes them particularly relevant to hikers is their camouflage. Their brown and black banded pattern blends almost perfectly into leaf litter, and they generally prefer to stay still and rely on that camouflage rather than flee. Documented bite cases occur every year across states like Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and North Carolina, most often when someone accidentally steps near one on a rocky outcrop or a sunny ledge at twilight. Wildlife agencies in the region actively track rattlesnake populations and bite incidents, while rare compared to other injuries in the woods, are taken extremely seriously by park rangers who train specifically to respond to them. Moving to number 10, we travel to the lower and mid elevations of the Appalachians for the northern copperhead. If timber rattlesnakes are the heavyweight of the mountains, copperheads are the most frequently encountered venomous snake in the entire eastern United States. According to health data compiled from poison control centers, copperheads are responsible for more venomous snake bites in America than any other species, largely because their range overlaps so heavily with suburban neighborhoods that back up against Appalachian forest edges. Copperheads typically measure 2 to 3 feet long, with a distinctive hourglass pattern that, much like the timber rattlesnake, provides near-perfect camouflage among dry leaves. Unlike rattlesnakes, they don't always give a warning rattle, which is part of why so many bites happen when people simply don't see them until it's too late, often at night while walking near woodpiles, stone walls, or garden edges. The good news documented by toxicologists is that copperhead venom, while medically significant and painful, is less potent than that of the timber rattlesnake or cottonmouth, and fatalities are extremely rare with proper treatment. Still, The sheer number of encounters, especially during warm summer nights when copperheads are most active, is exactly why this snake earns its spot on the list. At number 9, we head toward the warmer, wetter southern reaches of the Appalachian Range for the eastern cottonmouth, also known as the water moccasin. While cottonmouths are more commonly associated with the deep south, their range extends into the foothills and river valleys of the southern Appalachians, particularly in Georgia, Alabama, and parts of Tennessee. This is a heavy-bodied, semi-aquatic pit viper that can grow up to 4 feet long, and it is one of the only venomous snakes in North America that spends much of its life in and around water, including streams and swampy lowlands that thread through the mountains. Cottonmouths are known for a defensive display where they open their mouths wide to reveal a pale white interior, which is where the name comes from. They are active hunters after dark, feeding on fish, frogs, and small mammals along muddy banks. Their venom is cytotoxic, meaning it destroys tissue at the site of a bite, and medical literature classifies cottonmouth bites as a serious emergency requiring prompt treatment. Documented encounters in places like the Chattahoochee National Forest have reinforced the importance of watching your footing near water after sunset, since cottonmouths are far more willing to stand their ground than most people expect. Herpetologists note that this species is often confused with harmless water snakes, leading to unnecessary panic in some cases and dangerously casual behavior in others, which is exactly why wildlife experts recommend giving any snake encountered near water at night a wide and respectful berth rather than attempting to identify it up close. For our next entry, we shift away from reptiles entirely and head into the world of arachnids. At number 8 is the black widow spider, a species found throughout the lower and mid-elevations of the Appalachian region, especially in dry, sheltered spaces like woodpiles, stone crevices, and old outbuildings. Female black widows are immediately recognizable by their glossy black bodies and the red hourglass marking on the underside of the abdomen. Despite their small size, their venom is neurotoxic and among the most potent of any spider in North America, capable of causing intense muscle pain, cramping, and systemic symptoms in a bite victim. Black widows are far more active during warm nights, when they build irregular webs low to the ground to catch insects. They are not aggressive by nature and generally only bite when directly threatened or accidentally pressed against, which is why most documented bites in Appalachian states happen when someone reaches into a dark woodpile or storage shed without looking first. Fatalities from black widow bites are extremely rare today thanks to modern antivenom and medical care, but the intensity of the symptoms, sometimes mistaken for a heart attack due to abdominal cramping, is exactly why poison control centers treat every reported bite as a priority case. If you're finding this list fascinating so far, now would be a great time to hit that subscribe button, because the entries coming up get significantly more dangerous, and the very last one on this list is genuinely surprising. At number 7, we move to a much larger and increasingly common threat across the Appalachian foothills, the feral hog, also called the wild boar. Feral hogs are not native to North America, but escaped and released domestic pigs interbred with imported wild boar over the past century, and their populations have exploded across states like Tennessee, North Carolina, Virginia, and West Virginia. Adult males can weigh well over 200 pounds, with some documented individuals exceeding 400 pounds, and they are equipped with sharp tusks capable of inflicting serious wounds. Feral hogs are primarily nocturnal, especially in areas with hunting pressure, moving in family groups called sounders that root through the forest floor after dark, searching for roots, grubs, and small animals. While they generally avoid humans, wildlife agencies have documented defensive attacks, particularly from sows protecting piglets or hogs that feel cornered, and these encounters can result in serious injury. Beyond the direct physical danger, feral hogs cause enormous ecological damage, tearing up native vegetation and competing with native wildlife, which is why several Appalachian states now allow expanded hunting of the species. Their combination of size, tusks, and unpredictable temperament earns them a solid spot on this list. Sliding into number 6, we look at an animal that has become one of the most talked about additions to the Appalachian night in the last several decades: the coyote. Eastern coyotes, which are notably larger than their western counterparts due to some historical interbreeding with wolves, have expanded their range across virtually the entire Appalachian chain over the past 50 years, filling an ecological gap left by the extirpation of wolves and mountain lions from the region generations ago. Coyotes are highly adaptable and almost entirely nocturnal or crepuscular, hunting in pairs or small family groups for rabbits, rodents, and occasionally larger prey. While attacks on adult humans are extremely rare and well documented as isolated incidents rather than a widespread pattern, wildlife agencies do log occasional aggressive encounters, particularly involving coyotes that have lost their natural fear of people due to feeding, as well as a small number of documented attacks on pets and, in rare cases, small children in areas where coyotes have become habituated to human presence. Their eerie chorus of howls and yips echoing across a mountain valley after dark is one of the most iconic and, for many hikers, unsettling sounds in the Appalachian night. A reminder that an intelligent, opportunistic predator is very much active in the darkness around them. At number 5, we come to an animal responsible for more actual physical harm to Appalachian residents each year than nearly anything else on this list, and it isn't a predator at all in the traditional sense. This is the raccoon. Raccoons are extremely common throughout the entire Appalachian region, thriving in both deep forest and areas close to human development, and they are almost exclusively active at night, using their dexterous front paws to forage for food in streams, trash cans, and forest litter. On their own, raccoons are generally not aggressive toward humans. The real danger comes from disease, specifically rabies. The Appalachian region, and the mid-Atlantic and southeastern United States more broadly, has documented some of the highest raccoon rabies rates in the country for decades, and health departments across states like Virginia, West Virginia, and Pennsylvania report raccoons as one of the most common wildlife species involved in rabies exposure incidents requiring post-exposure treatment every year. A rabid raccoon can display unusually aggressive or disoriented behavior, sometimes approaching humans or pets directly, which is exactly the kind of encounter wildlife officials warn people to avoid and report immediately. Given how common raccoons are and how significant rabies transmission has historically been in this region, this seemingly cute nighttime forager earns a serious spot on the list. For number 4, we move up into the rocky ridgelines and forested slopes for the bobcat, the largest wild cat still confirmed to be living and breeding throughout the Appalachian Mountains today. Bobcats typically weigh between 15 and 35 pounds, with powerful legs built for short, explosive bursts of speed. And they are almost entirely nocturnal, using excellent night vision to stalk rabbits, squirrels, and ground-nesting birds. Under normal circumstances, bobcats are extremely shy and go to great lengths to avoid any contact with humans, and confirmed unprovoked attacks on people are exceptionally rare. However, wildlife agencies in states including Virginia and New Jersey have documented cases where bobcats infected with rabies became abnormally aggressive, in some instances approaching or attacking people, which is a stark departure from their typical secretive behavior. Because of their claws, powerful bite force, and the disease risk associated with occasional rabid individuals, bobcats represent a real, if uncommon, danger during nighttime encounters, particularly for anyone who startles one at close range or attempts to intervene if one appears sick or disoriented. But the next entry is significantly more dangerous, both in terms of physical size and the sheer number of documented incidents across the region. At number 3, we arrive at the largest predator that consistently roams the Appalachian wilderness today: the American black bear. Black bears are found throughout nearly the entire Appalachian Range, from the mountains of North Georgia through the Great Smoky Mountains, into the ridges of Pennsylvania and beyond, with some of the highest population densities in North America concentrated in this region. Adult males commonly weigh between 200 and 400 pounds, with some documented individuals in the Smokies exceeding 500 pounds, and despite their bulk, they are capable of running in short bursts and are strong swimmers and climbers. Black bears are most active at dawn, dusk, and after dark, especially during the fall when they are aggressively foraging to build fat reserves before winter denning, a behavior biologists call hyperphagia. While black bears generally avoid humans and fatal attacks are rare when viewed against the total number of encounters each year, they are not without risk. Documented fatal incidents have occurred within the Appalachian Range itself, including cases within Great Smoky Mountains National Park, where investigations by the National Park Service confirmed attacks linked to bears that had lost their natural wariness of people, often due to habituation from improperly stored food and trash. Wildlife officials are clear that the vast majority of black bear encounters end without incident, but the animal's sheer size, strength, and increasing overlap with human recreation areas after dark is exactly why it lands near the top of this list. Park rangers throughout the Appalachian region consistently emphasize proper food storage, using bear-proof canisters and hanging food away from campsites, since a bear that learns to associate humans with an easy meal becomes far more likely to return night after night, creating exactly the kind of habituated behavior that leads to dangerous encounters down the line. Now, if you had to guess the most dangerous animal in the Appalachian wilderness, most people would stop right there at the black bear. But the truth, according to public health data, points somewhere else entirely, somewhere far smaller. At number 2, we're returning to the arachnid world for the brown recluse spider, a species found predominantly in the southern and central Appalachian states, including Tennessee, Kentucky, Virginia, and West Virginia. Brown recluse spiders are small, typically less than half an inch in body length, with a distinctive violin-shaped marking on their back, and they are almost entirely nocturnal, hiding during the day in dark, undisturbed spaces like woodpiles, attics, and cabins before emerging at night to hunt insects. What makes the brown recluse particularly concerning is not the frequency of bites, which are relatively uncommon, but the nature of its venom, which contains an enzyme capable of causing necrotic skin lesions in a subset of documented cases, meaning localized tissue damage around the bite site that can take weeks to heal and sometimes requires medical intervention. It's worth noting that many suspected brown recluse bites reported by the public are later identified by physicians as other conditions, since the spider is shy and bites are genuinely rare. But confirmed cases in Appalachian states have been well documented in medical literature. Because cabins, sheds, and rustic mountain lodging are exactly the kind of undisturbed dark spaces this spider prefers, Campers and hikers staying overnight in the region are advised to shake out bedding, boots, and clothing that has been left in storage areas. And that brings us to the final entry. And if you've made it this far, this next one might genuinely surprise you. At number 1, the most dangerous animal roaming the Appalachian wilderness after dark isn't a bear, a snake, or a big cat at all. It's the tick. Specifically, the black-legged tick, also known as the deer tick, along with several related species found throughout the Appalachian region. Ticks are most active in the warmer months, and while they can be encountered during the day, they are especially prevalent in the tall grass, leaf litter, and brush that hikers brush up against during evening and nighttime activity, waiting patiently for a host to walk by. According to data compiled by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, tick-borne diseases have risen dramatically across the Appalachian region over the past 2 decades, with Lyme disease alone accounting for tens of thousands of confirmed and probable cases reported nationally each year. And Appalachian states like Pennsylvania, Virginia, and West Virginia consistently ranking among the states with the highest reported case counts in the country. Beyond Lyme disease, black-legged ticks in this region have also been documented carrying anaplasmosis, babesiosis, and in rarer cases, the tick-borne Powassan virus, which can cause serious neurological illness. Unlike a bear or a snake, a tick bite often goes completely unnoticed at first. Since the insect is small, its bite is painless, and it can remain attached for hours before being discovered, which is exactly what allows disease transmission to occur. When you add up the sheer number of documented human illnesses linked to ticks every single year across the Appalachian region, compared to the relatively small number of serious injuries from every other animal on this list combined, the data makes an undeniable case that this tiny, easily overlooked parasite is the most dangerous animal in these mountains after dark. Entomologists studying the region have also noted that tick populations and their range have been expanding in recent years, a trend they attribute to a combination of factors including changes in land use, deer population density, and shifting seasonal patterns, all of which have contributed to ticks being active for a longer stretch of the year than in previous decades. It's a humbling thought, considering how much attention large predators tend to get in conversations about wilderness danger, while the smallest creature on this entire list quietly causes far more documented harm every single year. Public health officials across the region continue to urge hikers and campers to check thoroughly for ticks after any time spent in tall grass or brush, since early detection remains one of the most effective ways to prevent serious illness. So there you have it, 11 animals that call the Appalachian wilderness home after the sun goes down. From venomous snakes and spiders hiding in the leaf litter to black bears wandering the ridgelines, all the way up to the tiny tick that outpaces every other creature on this list in terms of documented harm to humans each year. Of course, this is far from the only wildlife worth mentioning in this incredible mountain range, and there are plenty of other animals people might argue deserve a spot on a list like this. So let us know in the comments, what would you have included, and how would you rank these 11 compared to your own experiences in the Appalachian backcountry? Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.